everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to our channel, Rebecca, Stu, and the crew. I'm Rebecca, and today we have a Dollar Tree DIY. It's so fun and easy. I can't wait to show you how to do it. So let's go over the supplies first. We'll need some canvas and some wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. Also, just a regular household iron, and then we'll need some printer paper, just a plain printer paper, and Mod Podge. We're also going to need a sponge brush for the Mod Podge and some Crafter Square paint pens, which is optional, but we will need some paint. And then we're going to be needing some paint brushes. We're also going to use this dotting tool to help us paint, and then some ribbon. We're also going to need some greenery or flowers, and then a pair of scissors. We'll need some hot glue, and then a printable royal-free image from the internet, some nonstick parchment paper, and the last thing we're going to need from any craft store or Walmart are these Cricut Brand Infusible Ink markers. They're really easy to find, but this is what makes the project what it is. So let's get crafty. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for an image from the internet. Doing a Google search, I just typed in royalty-free printable gnome, or you can transfer whatever design you want, and you'll want the image to be in black and white. So I printed these out on my regular printer from home, and I printed out a few different ones. If you're going to use text in your picture, though, you want to make sure that you're mirroring the image before you print. That is very important. So now that I have all of my pictures printed out in the mirror position, we're going to choose which one we want to use first, and then we'll prepare the wood or the canvas. So for the wood, I'm going to go ahead and use a Rust-Oleum gel stain, and I'm going to stain the wood. You can paint the background, you can leave it natural. It's really up to you. Either way will work. And I wasn't quite sure at first if it would work this way. I was worried, but once the gel stain dried, it was perfectly fine, and it worked as I thought it would. So I was really happy about that. So we're just going to cover it with a thin layer of stain and let that dry. While it's drying, we're going to take that infusible marker. These are usually used with a Cricut machine. You don't have to use it with a Cricut machine, so you can just draw with it on the paper. And as you can see, I'm just tracing the image that I printed out on the internet. You just want to trace a nice smooth line because you are going to want to use this as your guidelines to paint later on in the project. So try to keep it as close to the lines as possible and nice and straight when you're drawing it out. But you want to make sure you work in some kind of pattern so you don't miss any of the pieces of the picture that you're tracing out. And now that that's done, what we're going to do is take our dried piece of wood, and we're going to take our image, and we're going to flip it upside down so that the ink is touching the wood. Now, at this point, if you want, you can tape it down if you have heat-safe tape. If not, you don't have to tape it down. We'll leave the parchment paper on top, and then using the hottest setting on my iron, I just press down on the image for about a minute. Make sure you get the whole area. I missed a little bit over on the side there of the beehive, but that's okay. I can fix it later. And then we're going to do the picture here that says Hello Summer. And as you can see, the ink will actually transfer onto the wood. And now you have your image on your wood that you can paint. And this will make it so much easier for anyone who, doesn't particularly think they're good at drawing or just painting freehand. Now you can pretty much have any image that you want or like, and you can put it on, the wood or canvas, and you're going to be able to make beautiful artwork, and you didn't have to try to trace it out or do anything like that. So I'm just going to use my paint markers and my paint to fill in all the pieces of the picture here. And you want to make sure that it's dry before you go in with other colors, of course. Now, once I get the whole entire picture painted here, I thought it was blending in a little bit too much to the background. So you could either take one of those paint markers, a Sharpie. You could even use just the regular paint, which I ended up doing. I just watered it down a little bit with some water to make it spread a little bit easier. And then I traced the whole entire outline of this picture. So I was real careful not to paint all of the pieces really dark, just because I wanted to still be able to see my image through the paint. That way I'd be able to go over the lines when I was tracing over top of it. But you do want to try to get it dark enough that obviously it looks nice. Just be careful and mindful and keep your your picture handy in case you need to go back and look at it as like a reference point to see where some of your lines were at if the paint completely covers up your image. So as you can see, I can still see the lines for like the beard. Okay. And it was a little bit hard to see the beehive, but I just referred back to the picture so I knew where all my lines were at. And right now I'm just going around the outside and outlining the whole entire picture here just to help it pop off of the background. And then I went over the lettering also. It really does help if you water your paint down. You don't need it super thick for the outline. So then I went in with a few of these oil crayons, like the oil pastels at Dollar Tree sells. And I just used the white crayon to go over to create some highlights. And what's nice about the oil pastels is once you have colored over top of the dried paint, you can even smudge out that oil pastel to look a little bit smoother, and it makes a really nice highlight on your picture just to help it pop up off of the background even easier. So once I have that completely done, I just take a brush or a sponge and some Mod Podge and I go over the whole entire picture now that the paint is dry to seal it all in. So then I wanted to add a little bit more detail to this. So I'm going to take a bunch of Dollar Tree ribbon. They have this bumblebee ribbon out right now, which is so cute. And then I'm just going to make a very simple layered bow and I'll tie that off in the center with some twine. So once I had this bow made, I felt a little bit small. So I took some more of that mesh ribbon Dollar Tree has out right now. I used the green and I layered that on the back just to make the bow a tad bit bigger. And again, I just tied that off with the twine. And now we're going to just glue it to the corner and add some greenery and flowers to the center of the bow. Now this sign is just one of the wood planks from Dollar Tree, so it's wide enough it will stand on its own. You can add a hanger on the back if you like. I'm just going to set mine on a shelf. Now for the canvas, I'm going to use this wreath form I printed from the internet. I've already traced it with my marker and I'm going to iron it onto the canvas. Again, I'm covering it with parchment paper. And as you can see, it actually starts to get a little bit darker, that paper does. You can start to see your image through the paper when the heat heats up that infusible ink. And it kind of is like a clue of where it's working at. So again, you don't want to cover up your image underneath, but I did want to paint the background, which I probably should have done first, but really wasn't sure what I wanted to do yet with this picture. So I went over with some watered down light brown paint and I did the background first, and then I could still see my image fairly well. So I just started to paint over it in the fine details with the fine tiny detail brush from the Dollar Tree. So I do, of course, keep my picture handy at all times so that I can look back and see where maybe any little flowers or detail lines will be at that I'm wanting to make sure that I get in the picture. And that way I don't miss any of the important parts of the picture as I'm painting it. But I just take my time. It's actually quite relaxing. It's kind of like doing a paint by number almost. You know, you're just kind of tracing the lines underneath. But then once you're all done, nobody can tell that you traced a picture. It just looks like you painted it freehand. That's what I love so much about using these infusible ink markers. They work really well also if you want to just draw a picture out on paper and use the Dollar Tree socks, the polyester socks. I actually made some for my daughter's gymnastics team, which was really fun for state, and they just love them. Everybody just loved the personalized socks that I made them. So they work really well. You just color the picture on regular printer paper and then iron it onto the sock. So that was the wreath picture. I had a few more little pictures I wanted to do and put those on the small canvas. So I tried a few more. I just wanted to do a bunch of different ones and try them out. And it was a lot of fun. I haven't done the actual infusible ink on the canvas or the wood. This is the first time I've tried it, but I have done, like I said, the socks and like t-shirts and things. And you don't have to have a Cricut machine to use these markers. Again, I want to stress that out. You can obviously use them just with some printer paper. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning how to create these with me. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel you might also enjoy.